It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I'm Tom Papa. If you're watching this right now, you see that I am holding a cigarette in my hand. I don't smoke cigarettes. I tried one when I was a boy, and I just found it on the street, picked it up, inhaled, got sick, throat on fire, never smoked again. But that does not mean that I am not fully aware that when someone holds a cigarette, they look cool. So I don't know. I don't know how I got this cigarette, but I'm using it today. If you're just listening, you just have to imagine how moronic I look. Thank you all for joining us. We have a great show for you today. We've got the great Kamau Bell and Hari Kondabolu, two great comedians who have a podcast together called Politically Reactive. We are a week away from the big election, and it just kind of worked out this way. I just love these two. They're really thoughtful. They're really funny, and we're going to have a great conversation with them. And leading into the election, why not have a little politics? Why not talk about the things that will make life better for all of us? And that's what it really is. If you're involved in any way, it's just to improve things. Unless you're an evildoer and you just want to hurt other people. But why would they be on Breaking Bread with Tom Papa? Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for reviewing. Thank you for adding stars. Thank you for spreading the word. This podcast is so much fun, and it's continuing to grow, and that is in a large part due to you. So thank you for breaking bread with us each week and spreading the good word. And hopefully, who knows, maybe when this is all calmed down, we'll all be able to gather in one place. Wouldn't that be nice? And we spread out bread, and we crack open wine, and we have espresso, and we hand out desserts. Oh, that would be good. I made a ciabatta, which is a Roman pastry used mostly for breakfast. It's a little lemony, sugary. Oh, so good. You know, I bake bread, but I'm not really into doing pastry stuff, but I was just craving don't want to sound insulting, but a dry Italian pastry. No frills, but yet a little sweet pastry to it. Ciabatta. I found it in Marcel Hazan's cookbook. Oh, I forget the name of it. It's the greatest Italian cookbook in the world. And I'm spacing on the name of it. Anyway, great Italian cookbook, Marcel Hazan. And it came out pretty good. It was pretty damn good. So I can just imagine us being in a theater at some point, and we're just spreading those around. Oh, it'll be a good time. In the meantime, make it yourself. Do something for yourself. Crack open a bottle of wine, get some snacks, and hang out. We're going to have a great day today. Kamau Bell, Hari Kondabolu from the Politically Reactive podcast. Enjoy it. They're two thoughtful, good human beings, really funny comedians. Enjoy the show. So good to see both of you, fathers. So delightful. And congratulations on bringing back the podcast Politically Reactive. It was you guys had a nice little run, and then the times demanded that it come back because of what else are you going to do? I mean, we're in the middle of Supreme Court battles and elections and possible Senate flips and protests and pandemic. So I guess let me just start with this question, which is, what did you have for dinner last night?
I had wildfires for dinner. You forgot to mention wildfires.
A nice little cedar crisp. Yeah. Where are you, Kamau? You're in.
I'm in Oakland.
You're in Oakland.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So you were really inundated with the fires. And Hari, you're down south, right?
Yeah, I'm still in San Diego temporarily until
No, he's
I get
not.
back.
He's not. It's not
I'm
temporary.
going back. It's no way. No way.
Not. He claims he's going to go back to New York City, but now that you had a baby, you are locked in place, my friend.
No, no.
Yeah. How are you going to go to New York? Where do you have family in New York?
Yeah, my parents are there. We're looking for a new apartment. This is not permanent.
Sure.
No, come on. This is not. I'm not a San Diegan. My
Moving
kid is not a San Diegan.
Moving across country with a baby. Just film it so we can use it for something. That's all I ask.
Oh man, it is so great! Congratulations on the baby. All right,
Thank you.
It really is amazing. It's such a great thing, and
I appreciate it, Tom.
Yeah, and you know, it's always people's analysis of your big life steps, whether like getting married or having a baby. It all really has to do with them analyzing themselves.
You hear that, Kamau?
so that I have been through it and have had all those sacrifices made and all the good and bad with it. I just wish it all on you.
Right. At least I got some wisdom out of it, right?
Yeah, total exhaustion. I was just saying to somebody, who was it? When I was talking, the first time I ever did the Tonight Show, Jay Leno asked me, I did the set and then I came over and he's like, hey, like, good job. You're married? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, you got children? And I said, yeah. And I was all excited. I was like, yeah, I just have a new baby. And he just kind of went blank and was like, yeah. Like he was saying,
wow.
It was almost like he was saying, like, well, you could have been successful, but all right.
Like, we won't be friends. You aren't free to come to my house at 3 a.m. and pitch jokes.
The answer he was expecting is like, yes, I got a new Ferrari and I got another Lamborghini that's on the way. Those are my two babies.
Yeah, comedy and cars. That's all I'm into. But this is gonna be rich for you, Hari. This is gonna be a good thing. How old are yours, Kamau?
Have to 9, 2 to 3 days away from 6, which is important. She's almost 6, and then a very sturdy in the middle of 2-year-old.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's meaty. 2 years old. Jeez.
Yeah, this morning my 9-year-old said good morning, and my 2-year-old responded, "Ah!" Like, all right, fair, totally fair. We are in the midst of a pandemic. It's totally fair.
9 and 6 is so rich that it wasn't my experience where my kids stayed in my act. They stayed 9 and 6 for probably 4 years.
Like a sitcom.
Yeah, completely. They were like
Lisa
driving
Bart
a car. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So well, congratulations on the podcast coming back. It is very cool. I love I loved listening to it before. And I got to listen to your little return and how you kind of a reluctant return. It sounded like in the beginning. It sounded like I guess we have to do this.
I mean, I'll take that. Hari, you can take that one. It's so funny to be on guests on a podcast,
right?
Collectively.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that we were only supposed to do it for a year. And then it became popular, which was funny because Hari had never been a part of something successful to that point before. So he's like, people like this. I'm like, yeah, it's called success. And he couldn't handle it. And so then they brought it back for a second season. And then it just became, Hari was working on his doc. I was working on United Shades. That's when I had my third kid at that point. It just became like too much to try to pull off. Yeah. And also booking 2 comedians and a guest and recording studios all around the country. It just became too much. But now, thanks to the pandemic, we can all do it from our houses.
Yes.
It is pretty nice. You really get to, you can get guests pretty easily.
Yeah.
Present company included.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's funny. Today I was like, can we get the Prime Minister of New Zealand on? And part of me is like, yeah, I think I can. I think we can get the Prime Minister. But then I'm like, well, wait a second. Their country's running again. So maybe that's not the easiest world leader to get right now.
No, but it really, I do have that feeling. It's like, well, you couldn't hurt to ask. You know?
Exactly.
It's not like they have a lot going on in between what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, Michelle Obama's first big guest on her podcast was Barack Obama.
Tough get. Tough get. So how are you? How are you guys holding up there in Oakland? I mean, that was pretty intense. The pictures of it, and for such a long time.
Well, it's funny. The you're talking about the red sky.
Red sky.
The red sky. I mean,
Yeah.
it was also funny because it wasn't funny. It was actually horrifying and depressing. And you're like, oh, in the midst of a pandemic, this happens. So, but like the thing that was really funny about it is that your camera phone couldn't capture how red it was. So there was all this frustration of like posting the picture going, you're not even getting it.
Right.
My camera's trying to correct it. My camera's like, that's not real. Let's make this a little.
If I'm not getting content out of this, why am I even sticking around?
Yeah. No, but it was, I mean, and and then we had the air, like, and then the sky wasn't red, but then the air was like, I have that air quality app on my phone now that I check every day, which is fun to find out. And then it was basically like in the don't go outside, don't open your windows. Why are you getting out of bed? There's nothing's worth anything anymore. That's what the app said. So yeah, it was pretty. And then you have the kids who are like already Zoom schooling and can't go play with their friends, and now they literally can't step outside the house. So
good Lord. Yeah. It's so funny. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny that there's like a whole slew of apocalypse apps now that you can get. Good Lord. But it's what, it's when you're here in LA and we've had the sky similar, and then we've been through the fires and you have ash landing and stuff, and your friends call from New York and they're like, oh my God. And you're like, it's no big deal. Right. You're just kind of like, that's like a mile away. That's all right. This one seemed a little more intense.
I mean, looking at those pictures, it was hard not to think, oh, is this what the future looks like? Like, is this the day to day, either because like we're all going to Mars or because this is what every place is going to look like? Like it was very like, okay.
I mean, it was a very surreal feeling for it to be like noon and you have all the lights on in your house because the skies. I mean, it was a very like, is this the end times?
I know.
And then a little bit when the sky cleared up, you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be the end times. So I thought we could just lean into the end times, but now it's back to the regular, just bad times.
Yeah, I just got to muddle through. Damn it. I've always thought that in LA when I would, even like when there weren't fires, I would just watch these crispy looking old rock stars walking into the supermarket. You know what I mean? Like their lizardy skin and they're just kind of like going in and like everything's crispy and dry and the human being is lizardy. And I'm like, this is going to be the future of this is going to be this is what we're all going to be like with global warming. It's so upsetting. Now here's a I want to go back and forth between your lives and politics because I really respect both of you and I do have a lot of questions. And when people, my nephew, when Trump got COVID and we had a family chat and it was some of the people in the family chat were rooting for a not a great outcome for his diagnosis, and the younger kids in the family chat were like, that's not nice, you shouldn't wish that on anybody. And then my nephew listed off a whole list of things that Trump has done and why we should risk for and
how old is your nephew?
He's 28.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say 7, and I'm like, I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
Yeah, no, he's 28. And I think he's still protesting now in LA. There's like 3 people left, and he's still out there. And but one of his things was global warming. The global warming, and where you have these fires and these, California is just on fire. But this is not a Trump thing, really. That one, you know what I mean? Like for the future, we should be jumping on things and doing it now. But he really can't. We all kind of have to be blamed for where we're at this moment, don't you think?
I mean, I think there's lots of blame to go around throughout history. Certainly, like I can't blame Trump for the red sky, but I certainly can't blame him for not giving a shit about the red sky. I think there's a I feel like if America's a math equation, then Trump is sort of the sum of America. Like I think in that sense, he's just like, what is America? And it's Donald Trump ripping off his mask being COVID positive and waving to people like while the Evita song plays in the background. So we can't blame him for everything, but certainly it's like the way he thinks is the problem with America. And he has done things like there's nothing he can't do things to make much worse right now, but he had, as far as with the global warming, but he did pull out of the Paris Climate Accords, which was a sort of hey guys, shouldn't we pay attention to this? He's like, nope. And even after he's gone, we have to sort of then figure out how to get back in. So it's just, I think it's like, to me, it's like, it's the Trump is the drunk guy taking one more shot at the bar and then getting in his car. Like, it's not necessarily that last shot's fault, but that sure.
It's a great way to put it.
It sure didn't help things. Yeah.
He's getting in the car and he's taking hostages.
Yeah, and he's insisting he gives you a ride home.
Right.
No, I'm gonna give you a ride home. You can't stop me from giving you a ride home.
I mean, the fires technically aren't Trump's fault, but there was a part of me when I saw those pictures that thought, oh, this is what the Christians are talking about when Jesus comes back and fights Donald Trump, right? This is what they've been talking about?
Well, as me and Tom know, as both being very faithful Christians, the Revelation does say the next thing after the floods is the fire. So that is
right.
As every black woman over the age of 60 will remind you right now if you start talking about California wildfires.
Right, exactly. And then locusts and frogs are like right around the corner. Well, that's kind of an interesting question too, that as we're watching the Supreme Court thing go through, and I know at this moment, everyone's voting the way they're going to vote. We knew that going in, but this is really like campaign speeches for everybody. They have a big national audience, and Lindsey Graham, that guy who's going against Lindsey Graham, it's just like, oh, he's trying so hard. His money's like just over there. But it's like Lindsey knows what he's doing, and he's going to have a national platform as the head of this judicial committee, and he's going to be he's going to burn. So much time is going to be used, and he was so out front about this is a moment in time where Christians have a pro-choice and agenda, and this woman is going to say it out loud. And I was like, what happens? what if you're Jewish or Muslim or like where, like, what, isn't there supposed to be a separation? Because the same thing's coming up with the statement made about gay rights that's infringing on religious liberty. It's like, wasn't there supposed to be a separation of these two things?
The Muslim bloc in South Carolina is not particularly strong for this. It's not overly concerned, I guess.
It's funny when you said, what if you're Jewish or Muslim? I think Lindsey Graham's quote is, that's your problem.
Sucks to be you.
You made that mistake. Don't blame me for your poor choices. No, he said that thing. I mean, it's really like Donald Trump has allowed all of the people of that ideology to just really like let it all out. Like Lindsey Graham during that I don't know if it was the debate or the town hall he had, where he said, like, if you're black or an immigrant, you can travel around South Carolina as long as you're a conservative and not a liberal. Okay.
Oh, did he really say that out loud?
He said it 1,000%. It's you can go find the clip. He said it. Because he only needs to play to his base. Because like you said, even though Jamie Harrison has outraised him a lot, but officially, like, there's also just super PAC weird money that you can't count on, because money is a person, but people aren't people, according to the current administration. People aren't people, but money is people. So that Jamie Harrison's outraised him, and yet he's like, I get these texts from Jamie Harrison because I donated at one point, and it's like, I'm up 1%, y'all. Like, it's just like, he has all the best arguments, and yet he's up, like, he's just barely up 1%.
Oh man, it's amazing. It really is amazing. Like that. But shouldn't it be separate? Like, isn't church and state? I mean, wasn't that one of our big?
I mean, you've been to like Europe. Like, they think it's there. When I was in England, I was in the UK when we did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It was sort of striking to me how much people there are sort of like open atheists, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Even in political, like they think the whole idea of holding on, like we think of us as being the most sort of futuristic place in the world.
Yeah.
And yet around religion, we really, it's like we're like in the 18th, 17th century, like kicking Galileo out of the church. Like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty profound. I wanted to watch a scary movie last night because they're coming near. It's Halloween season. We've got the decorations up in the house, and I said to my wife, "Let's watch a scary movie tonight." And she said, "All right, cool." And we put on a movie called The Witch, which I think something Eggers is the writer director. He also did The Lighthouse. Very cool filmmaker. But it's about pre-colonial times in North America, and it's all in on religion.
Mm-hmm.
My wife lasted 1 minute because someone stole a baby and sacrificed it in the woods immediately. My wife was out.
Like,
I said, I thought you were going to watch a scary movie with me. She said, I thought we were going to watch like Monsters Inc. or something. But I stayed and watched the whole thing, and that real, like, all these problems are just any problems with food, with the kids, it was just all get on your knees and pray to God. And it seems like this folklore, land of make believe, kind of Greek mythology, kind of a twisted thing, and that it's still happening now. That you just throw. I'm not against people believing in stuff, but not in the replacement of, hey, the house is on fire. Let's not just go to the neighbors and pray. Let's get a hose.
Yeah. Well, first you have to ask God if it's okay to get a hose, because you don't want to use the devil's tools while you put the fire out of your house. Man. I mean, the minute this country, and a lot of this started with, like, I mean, it's the history of this country is like allegedly religious freedom, like freedom from religion, but it was really like wanting to have can we all just get behind Christianity is basically what the founding of this country is.
Right.
And the minute that we allowed that to sort of go from like the freedom to practice religion in your church to like suddenly we're back to debating science.
Yeah.
Like that's where I feel like, oh, we've lost. We've lost when and I also think the sort of the adherence to the two-party system. So it sort of automatically bakes in the idea that there's two sides to everything because there's two parties. Well, this party believes this. This party believes in science. This party believes in prayer. Let's debate.
And they're both equal. They're equal.
Yeah. Let's vote on science or religion. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of where we're at now with everybody. Now that everybody has a voice on social media, it's like in the old days, you just be like, oh, that guy's nuts. And now you're like, all right, let's hear what the nutty guy has to say.
Let's hear from the senator from South Carolina.
Right. All right, did you grow up religious in a religious house?
Kind of. I mean, we grew up Hindu, and you know, we would pray and we'd go to the temple and stuff. My mom was always very practical. Like, you know, she would take my brother and I to Burger King and we'd have hamburgers. And I didn't know beef was against the religion until I was like 10. It's like we were being taken and bought hamburgers. And I asked my mom, like, did you know this? And she's like, yeah. And well, first I said, why didn't you tell me this? Because it was very embarrassing. Sitting with Hindu friends in Queens and I'm getting hamburgers. And they're like, you know, that's not chicken, right? But it was like her whole thinking was like, I know enough people who don't eat beef, who are terrible human beings. I'd rather you eat beef and fit in America and be a good human being. And that's kind of what her philosophy was. So she was like religious, and we would do the prayers and we go to temple and all that. But really it was about the lessons. And that was her thing.
Was she
like how religion's supposed to be, like how religion is supposed to be, about the lessons and not about
right.
No,
exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, she prays and every day, and she knows how to do the different prayers and, you know, stuff that unfortunately I think I don't know how I'm going to pass on to my kid because it's like another language and it's a whole different set of things. But I mean, I think the thing I took away was the thing at least I can pass on are the overarching lessons that she taught us with faith, as well as some of the stories. And that's kind of, you know.
Right. What was the food like in the house?
We had a lot. we had a lot of like she cooked Indian food every night, but my brother and I like wanted like macaroni and cheese and spaghetti and like the stuff all the kids at school were eating. So that's
Yeah.
what we ate. And then at some point, my brother just started eating the Indian food with my folks. So I was the holdout, which was like I was the one that forced the second meal. And then college happened, and all my friends were like, "That's so cool! Your mom makes Indian food every night." I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
It's so funny.
Anyway.
Because like I'm sitting there like, with mac and cheese and like, wow, you get takeout Indian food every night.
Right.
Amazing.
My brother has such a funny take on it. He's like, my brother would be angry that Indian kids would get made fun of for eating the foods that we ate and different curries and things like that. And I'm like, it's bullshit. I can't bring this delicious food to school because these kids will make fun of me. Meanwhile, this kid's eating a tuna fish sandwich. What? Your parents don't love you? Is that why you're upset? They made you a tuna fish sandwich?
Oh man! So now that you have a baby, is it?
Yeah.
It's got to be, because I'm sure you went through this, Kamau, where you're raised a certain way, and there's all these family traditions, whether it's religion and the food and the culture, and you kind of like college, you kind of like try on different things, and maybe you're not into certain stuff, but once those kids show up and there's like the line, didn't you come out like you all of a sudden start thinking, well, I can introduce them to church.
Well, that's the funny thing about that is I feel like by the time I got to introduce them to church, it was like you kind of need to be taken to church when you're too young to even know what you're doing.
Yes.
Because when you try to take like a 6-year-old to church, they're like, "What is happening? Why are we standing up? Why are we sitting down? Why is that guy still talking?"
Right.
They don't even understand. Like, what are we doing here?
It's
like,
really
we're gonna
true.
Talk about God, and you go, "Oh, we never talked about God." Like, it's just like my kids. So my wife comes from a big family, and they do like an Easter egg hunt every Easter, and so my kids love Easter. And I'm like, I don't even know what Easter is to them.
Right. It's candy.
It's candy and a new dress. And I'm like, how are they going to explain? Like someday they're going to be a conversation about Easter, and somebody's going to be like, well, Jesus, he died, and 3 days later he came back. And they're not even going to have any context for what any of that is. That's my fault. Like I realized
I had a joke in one of my specials that about taking my daughter, and she was 6, taking her to church for the first time, and it was on Easter. And we were in New York, and we walked into this Catholic church on the corner of 11th Street. And she walked in and saw Jesus on the crucifix hanging from the ceiling and literally looked at me like, what the hell is happening? And the whole series was just, creepy people and turning, and it just like, and it was too late. It was kind of too late.
You kind I mean, if you're gonna indoctrinate them into that, like you have to do it at a time when their brains are sort of squishy and like, I guess this is what we do.
Yeah.
So I was one of those kids, I guess this is what we do, but I don't know how you then go back and go, and and explain all that. Yeah, that guy who's bleeding and it's weird, but he's our leader.
Just go with it. Yeah. But you're gonna find, Hari, like there is that thing where they kind of, some of them you can't tell because all the kids kind of show up and they're kind of who they are. They really are.
Right.
That's true.
And my one daughter started looking at my parents, at the grandparents, and was like, religion was one part of it, but what they ate, what they did, how they craved just being a part of this thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of out of your hands unless you stay in San Diego forever, in which case it'll just be so for kids.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
We're gonna be back in New York. This kid's gonna grow up with his Hindu grandparents, and then when we visit San Diego, he'll be with his lapsed Catholic grandparents.
All right, you're gonna be in San Diego. You're like 5 years away from going, I mean, I'm liberal, but there's limits. You know what I mean? Like, our show's gonna mutate into Crossfire. Like, what? One liberal, one conservative. What happened?
Her family is from here. New York was in the middle of a pandemic.
We get it. The border's a problem. We get it.
Look, it doesn't have to be a wall, but still, there should be rules.
I feel like in every podcast Kamau and I do together now, my growing conservatism, which I didn't even realize was a thing, has become a primary topic.
It started with the court packing thing. You're like, well, if we had 3 justices on our side, they had 3 justices on there. I was like, what's happening to the dreamer?
That's not
He used to be a guy who had dreams and thought that we could win.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be good for the podcast, though. It's nice to spice it up.
It'll spice it up. It'll be like moonlighting. This one season we're together, the next season we're apart. And so,
right.
Could I have picked an older show? I probably could have. I almost put Cheers, but Moonlighting felt like the more current reference, which tells you a lot about my brain. And
which tells you really, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. A friend of mine asked me, went through a whole list of shows. She's single. So she's current on every new show. I was like, nope. I had Pen 15 was the only one I could get in there on.
That's fun. Yeah, it is funny. You really find out a lot about people, like how people's pandemic is going by the number of books they claim they've caught up on, and when they're like, I need a new show. I haven't said that in months.
Right. I know, a new show. Yeah. Oh my God. Somebody told me, got me into Ozarks, and it was like, I literally was like, this is good. These people are great. These storylines are amazing. And then I saw the amount of episodes I had to get through, an hour each. I was like, I'm out. It's too much work. I know it's not going to happen. Kamau, where'd you grow up? It was in California, right?
No, I was born out here, but I really grew up mostly back east a lot. So let me go to Indianapolis, Boston, Chicago, and then spending every summer in Alabama the whole time. So yeah, so it's a lot. Yeah, I came back out to California in my 20s.
Who was in Alabama?
My dad. My dad still lives in Alabama. Just has had 2 hurricanes. That's the other part of global warming. He's had 2 hurricanes this season so far.
Yeah.
One didn't hit him, but one did.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's so he's lived in, when I was in New York, living in New York, he was actually living there part time, but he loves Alabama.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you love Alabama?
It's funny. As a kid, no. As an adult, like I very quickly realized when I moved up to the Bay Area, how many people in the Bay Area had never been to the South and didn't know anything about it, but loved to talk shit about it. And then it became like, then my Southern accent would come out. You don't know what you're talking about there, bro. I suddenly I'm the black guy from Forrest Gump. But so, and then I was like, and then it became clear to me, like, I don't have like taking my kids to church isn't a thing. It's making sure my kids spend time in Alabama so they don't have that thing where they're like, Alabama. So now my kids associate Alabama with their grandfather and going to the beach,
right.
which is not how most people think of when they think of Alabama.
Yeah.
So it's become important to me as I got older to like make sure my kids spend time there so they're not afraid of the South like a lot of people who live outside the South are.
Right. Okay, good. No, this is perfect segue into my other grand questions.
This is also like what I'm doing with San Diego. I want
it's not that nobody's afraid of San Diego. Nobody.
Oh,
I mean,
what
really,
are you, some kind of surfer, some kind of conservative surfer?
No,
it's not all like that. My grandparents are there.
No, nobody. I mean, I hate that nobody thinks about San Diego. It's just a
and I have to correct myself in the beginning of the podcast by calling it the South. But okay, so here's my other question. This is it's kind of large, but you've cranked out your shows, Kamau, and you guys have the show together, and Hari, you're always probing, and you do your documentary, and
I think you're saying Hari, you're always on Twitter, and
Hari, you're exhausted and with a baby, and there is this. You're not doing those things. You're not exploring these topics unless you really love this country.
Mm-hmm.
You see it as imperfect, see it as totally flawed, but you're searching for answers, and that comes out of you saying like you want to bring your kids to Alabama. That is you want them to know this other part of the country. I feel like the right has staked a place in the debate where they come off as the ones who love the country, So much so that the American flag, I feel like the flag is now equal to a Trump flag.
Mhm.
And don't you feel like the left has let that kind of get away from us? We are seen now as the people that are all in over there, as people who hate the country. But that's not the truth.
I mean, first of all, I will say that the idea that the American flag and the Trump flag seem like the same thing now. I mean, for some of us, like after 9/11, the American flag certainly didn't seem like a friend.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, it's the thing you were saying about like this isn't all Trump. This is
some of this. I remember like when people would chant USA, every Olympics post 9/11.
Yeah.
When I would hear USA, USA, I would get scared. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, impending hate crime. Like, something,
Yeah.
they want vengeance again. Like, it's something like it's for some of us, you know, I don't think the flag necessarily. I knew people who, like, my parents put a flag up on their house, and that's both because my mom is an American citizen. My dad just became an American citizen. There's a sense of patriotism because they earned this thing, but also it was like they didn't want someone to throw a rock through the window after 9/11. Like both those things coexist, and
Right.
so for one, I'll say that like it hasn't necessarily been the most the friendliest image to all of us. And in terms of patriotism, I mean, for me, I have a tough time with it because I understand community. I understand like cities, you know, as a New Yorker. I to some degree understand state. We all at least had to take the Regents exam in high school. There was something. We had to pay New York taxes. There was something.
Yeah.
But the nation confuses me. The idea of a country this big being one thing, I have a tough time with. And so it's not that I'm anti-American. I have a tough. I think a lot about the trouble that borders and the idea of countries have caused. Like when, you know, the fact that civil rights, national rights, you know, the idea that these are the rights citizens get over human beings, that upsets me. And I feel like we see that play out, whether it's talking about the border or whether it's, you know, talking about global capital and all these things. Like, I feel like we lose a sense of like, what about human beings and human suffering over just the good of the country? And so it's not that I'm anti-American. I just see a bigger picture that I feel like a lot of us as Americans who are privileged to be Americans and get the benefits of America, we don't need to confront on a daily basis.
Right. Do you feel the same way, Kamau?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up in the house I grew up in with my mom, like, you know, if we're talking, you know, I always was aware that like this idea of America, Black people were separate from the idea of America, you know, that it was a thing that we like were fighting to be a part of. You know, my mom was born in 1937, so she's 83, and I always joke that she has seen every part of racism except for slavery. Like that was the only thing she didn't participate in.
Right.
Because, you know, but she's seen like separate and unequal, Jim Crow, the integration of the schools, the Black school being bad, the white school being, she's seen all the, like, you can't sit here, you can't drink here. She's done all the things up through Barack Obama. And as I said, I kind of wish she had a heart attack that night, but I love my mom, but like to see the Trump thing coming, it's like, I said it to her on TV. It's fine. She knows what I mean. I don't want my mom to pass away, but when Trump won, I was like,
a good ending is a good ending.
Yeah, it would have been a great, like, so I've always been raised to understand that America was an idea that that as a Black person, I didn't fit into very well. But I was also raised by the idea of like growing up, like we're the greatest country in the world, even if it's not that great for me and other Black people. You know, like that. So you always had these two competing ideas in your head.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that Donald Trump has put a wrap on for many of us is even the myth that it's the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
Like even as like a sort of even as a thin idea out there, like with my kids, you know, they know what COVID is, they know coronavirus, they know Trump is mismanagement. I wish Juno, my 5-year-old would be great on this. Like she's got a lot of things to say about Trump.
Yeah.
But the thing that I had to sort of explain it was like, they thought it was the world that was experiencing the way America was experiencing it. I was like, no. There are countries that handled it better than us. Cause I don't want my kids to think this is the greatest country in the world and this is how we handled this.
Right.
And it's like, no. I think the whole idea of us, and also one of the reasons we were the greatest country in the world, even if that was ever true at all, is because we were open to other people coming here.
Right.
And so we were like, it's like the same thing with USA basketball. Like if you're a great basketball player in Europe, you don't really prove yourself till you come to the States. You know what I mean? Like, are you really good, Dirk Nowitzki? Oh yeah, you are really good.
Yeah.
Are you really good, Darko Milicic? No, you're not. You're not good at all.
Yeah.
But
thank you for using Darko and not Frederick Weiss.
He doesn't. That guy doesn't even remember his own name. So, and I think the United States for a lot of the innovation, a lot of the things that made this country whatever, like I don't want to, a lot of things that we got credit for were things that immigrants brought here or refugees brought here, or black people invented. You're welcome for the traffic signal. By the way, that was black people. But now with the borders effectively being closed in a way that Trump didn't mean them to be closed, but because of the COVID thing, a lot of those people who have that innovation and all that ingenuity are going to either stay where they are, or there's going to be some new country that becomes like, that's the land of opportunity. And I think that's something that we're going to see no matter who wins the next election. We're going to see, like in 20 years, we're going to be like, isn't it weird how like some other city in the world is where all the new things are coming out of?
Yeah, where Norway's kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to happen slowly, and then we're going to look up and we're going to suddenly be like that neighborhood that people used to hang out in. Or that,
Yeah,
we're going to be like Studio 54. That's where it was. I mean, now it's just an address, but it used to be cool.
Yeah.
Like you can walk past the building that Studio 54 was in New York, but it doesn't mean anything.
Well,
I think part of it for me too is, my family, comes from colonized peoples, right? India was a colonized country and who had to fight for its freedom, all of South Asia, throughout Africa. Like this was something that we came from. So to be in this country, it is a strange feeling. And obviously this isn't universal for every South Asian, but I certainly have thought about this a lot. Being part of a colonized people at one point, living on someone else's colonized land in a country that doesn't acknowledge it, that doesn't work towards fixing some of the historic ills. Like with South Africa had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission after, Mandela was released. There was some reckoning with the sins of the past. There was a sense of we weren't a true country before because we had these divisions that were so embedded in law and embedded in society and culture. Like as much as we say it's a country, it wasn't one country. The U.S. has never really done that. The U.S. has never owned up to the things it's done and tried to repair it. We're still lying about what this country is, and it's really hard to really feel like it's a country for everyone, that it is a great country, a unit that should exist, until we get to that place where we're actually open about what it is and try to fix it. I mean, New Zealand has done that with the Maoris. I mean, there's ways to take steps to really make this feel like a whole that I don't think we do.
It's a great point. I really feel like we are open in so many ways, and there's so many podcasts like yours that is like talking about it and airing it out. And there's like, wouldn't it be great if we did that like twice a year or even once a year? Everybody meets. There's like from each state and from all these different walks of life, choose them out however you want. And then they all get together and have, like in the founding of the country, everybody gets together and they have a week long of debates and conversation of everybody bringing in those interests. Like that would be amazing to do, beyond just all talking to ourselves.
I think white people tried to do that, but it was called a food court, and they didn't really want the conversation. They just wanted the food. They just wanted the food.
It just ended up with some sad people with some wet trays.
Yeah, and they're like, we don't even want you to make the food. We'll make it ourselves. Yeah.
It's so true. And all the food is like, that's kind of Chinese.
It's kind of it. Yeah.
It's kind of Indian.
But also, I need you to make it in 5 minutes. Well, it takes longer than that. No, I need it in 5 minutes. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, I think that like, I mean, I think one of the great things about being a stand-up comic is that you very early and if you start to do it for real, you start to travel around the country and you start to take gigs in places you never would have gone before.
Yes.
And you learn two things. One, oh, I can kind of get my act to work anywhere. And two, when I'm in this town, I better make sure to not do this. Or when I'm in this town, I better make sure to mention this because then they'll like me more. Like we start to learn how myopic people are. Like, you know, if you play Dayton, you better make fun of Kentucky at some point, you know. And we also start to learn how much it's like Dayton, you're not that different from Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like you start to, and I think that's the thing I've taken with United Shades. People get myopic on their corner of the universe. Even in New York, like people in New York, even there's a lot of the fact that there's a lot of different types of people there is great, but also people in New York kind of think there's only New York and everything else is not New York. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think people get myopic in a way. I just think New York myopicness at least comes with some sense of like there are different people other than my ethnic group and my racial group in the world. You know?
Right.
But I think that like people get stuck on their version of the country, and either they don't want to leave or they can't leave because they can afford to. And even if their area of the country is not great, they start to think this is still better than that town over there. Like,
right.
Even though this sucks, it doesn't suck as hard as it sucks over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think from being comedians, we travel around and you go, oh no, there's a lot more similarity. And also don't get so caught up in your corner of the world.
Right. No, that's very true. And that's very tribal. I mean, that's global. You know, that's a global thing. I mean, just seeing what's happening with Armenia now, it's like, oh man, that is like a centuries old strife that now in 2020, these people just decide, no, I can't take it anymore. And they're back at each other's throats. And it's like, it's, you know, as you're saying it, you know, you both mentioned that it's the idea of America, and that in that, it's like there's hope and there's potential, and it's kind of like a marriage. It's like you can just get in it and be like, oh, we're good. We said the vows, so we all know we love each other. Let's just roll. But the reality is you have to check in. You got to go to dinner once in a while. You have to sit down and talk. You have to yell at each other once in a while. Like we don't
got to stop calling the police on each other.
Or you got to call police that last time and then be done with it.
Yeah. Let the neighbors watch.
For those of us who are partnered up or married during this pandemic, it is, I guess I'm going to speak for all of us. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. The kind that's kind of rickety.
Yeah. Is this even safe?
Yeah.
It's
America's
oldest wooden roller coaster. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling me I didn't have a kid when this thing started.
Yeah. So it's but I think it is. And the thing that I think that we have to come to reckon with, and that thing I realized sort of early, I thought about earlier in the pandemic, countries aren't forever. Like we're all old enough to have grown up with a map that had to be changed. It's somewhere in the world. Like this country doesn't exist anymore. Like my mom had a map of Africa when I was a kid that had like tape on it and like handwritten new names of countries on it because things just changed since she bought the map, and it was a nice map. She didn't want to throw it away. So it's like I think that we have to at some point ask ourselves, like every now and again they talk about California seceding, and people are like that could never happen. And you go talk to people in Eastern Europe about it could never happen. You know what I mean? Like talk to people in Africa, Central Africa, about how countries can't change. And I think that on some level we have to really, I'm saying that that's going to happen, but it does, you know, but the idea is that whatever we think this thing is, it doesn't have to stay the same. And there could be excitement in that. Like it could be like, wow, maybe we need to really think this through and have a new idea here. It doesn't have to be scary. It could be like we have the ability to dream bigger. And I think some people get so caught up in what's going on now. Like the idea of the Supreme Court. Why? Is that a lifetime appointment?
Yeah.
You know,
I know. When I saw that she was born in 1972, I was like, wait a minute. I'm feeling pretty healthy.
Exactly.
So you're telling me abortion is gone for another 50 years.
Exactly. Funny how that sounds cool until it's the wrong person.
Yeah.
Why? Like a lot of the ways in which this country has put itself together, we act like, and again, she's a great example of that. An originalist, I believe in the things that those white men said when they said them, even though they wouldn't have been talking to me because I was a woman, you know?
Yeah, why doesn't someone bring that up? You would not be sitting there right now.
Oh, I said this recently, just seeing Cory Booker talking to Amy Coney Barrett on CNN. I'm like, yeah, the founding fathers would have hated this. No. This is not what they intended at all.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. But see, that's the thing. It's like, when they talk about, well, yeah, maybe it goes from like Washington State down to the Baja, and that's Arcadia, and that's its whole new country. But I do feel like the idea is still relevant if there is a conversation, if people are going to work at it, if we are going to have that meeting once a year where we all kind of air, and then maybe we come to the conclusion, like, you know what? Yeah, this is. Yeah. We're probably, hey, I love you, but
we have the Gwyneth Paltrow lead singer of Coldplay. Consciously, we should uncouple. We should uncouple.
We should uncouple. Yeah. But I'm still going to say nice things about you.
I'm still going to say in the press. I'll say nice things about you. We still share a PR agent, so we'll see. No, I just think that like, because for me, like me and my kid, I've done a lot of things I never thought I would do, like Googling what is life like in other countries. What are the countries where the most Americans live? Like just because you feel like if we don't straighten out, especially if we get, I mean, I'm not trying to make any sort of like, but if we don't straighten out COVID and other countries do, if I was a single person, I might just be like, I'll figure it out. But like to have kids, to like think that your kids can't go to school in person again, or if they do, they have to go a couple weeks at a time, and then somebody gets COVID and they shut it down for a while, and they go a couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. I keep looking at Copenhagen.
Yeah, there you go.
They've got great bakeries.
Yep.
It's very clean.
It's funny. We all have our list of categories. Bakeries is on your list.
Bakeries is definitely on my list. Yeah. No.
Well, that's the thing. I look for. I need a critical mass of brown people. I can't. So like a lot of those, like Norway.
Yeah.
I know you got all the good programs, but I need a critical mass. Doesn't have to be African Americans, obviously, but a critical mass of brown people who I will be like, I'm with you guys.
Yeah. Where would that be? Where would, like, so you're going near? You're going to nice climates.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to. But I think also like someplace like, yeah, could be south, could be like, I've heard some things about Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Gotta speak Spanish then, though.
Yeah, I think so New Zealand is the place, because I know they have a critical mass of brown people, and I know they don't have COVID, and they believe in climate change. So you go bakeries.
That's
those
a good list. Yeah, that's a good list. Yeah. There is that thing, like, I love Italy, and it's like you go to Italy, and then at a certain point, you're like, I just want to get back to America. There's that thing, like, even my kids, like, before they could even articulate it, they just wanted to come back and get like mac and cheese. They're like, all right, with this artisan pizza, I just want, I want some sugary cereal and a Pop-Tart. There is that thing.
Amazon delivers all over the world. That's all I'll say. Not that I'm trying to encourage you not to buy local, but I just feel like some of the things you think you miss, you could get some of those things.
I will say, whenever
I encourage you to look deeper at Italy. That's all I'm saying.
Whenever I've been in another country, like to Tom's point, I've always felt more American than I ever felt in the country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just kind
of
even both as a comic going on stage, I'm like, I didn't know my act was so American, or just like the day to day, I'm like, you idiots are on the wrong side of the road. Like there's that sense of like, this is how everything works. This is how my brain has been programmed.
Yeah.
I don't know how to not think about things that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if Puerto Rico doesn't become a state and becomes its own country, Puerto Rico would be a place. Because I was spending time there with United Shades. It was like being in America where your cell phone still worked and your credit card still worked, and the Wi-Fi was the same, but it also felt different enough that you felt like it was a break from the mainland. So,
that's a good one. Yeah, Hawaii is similar that way.
Oh yeah. Jocelyn's my partner is Puerto Rican, so that's an option.
See if you can get Puerto Rican citizenship.
I'll bring it up to her and see what she says. I thought you knew me.
So Ari, what's the food in your house for your kids?
I mean,
the future family of.
It's not.
Yeah, what's your go-to meal that you have to cook? You have to have You have to have some dad meals that you like bust out.
Other than cereal?
Can you make Indian food?
I can't make much of anything. I can make eggs.
The weird thing about him is he doesn't even like spicy food, which really.
No, my mom and I are not good with spice. My brother and my dad are great with spice. I don't know what this kid's gonna be.
Yeah.
But my parents are in Queens, so we'll have Indian food often enough, especially South Indian
the
food.
question was, what will you make for your kid? Don't try to
Oh,
start
he's
getting
having.
back.
Okay. Kraft
Thank you,
macaroni
Kamau.
and cheese. What else did I have? Chef Boyardee.
Okay, first of all, at least do Annie's mac and cheese. It's organic.
It doesn't taste as good.
Doesn't have that tang.
Yeah,
No,
like,
it
your
does
kid-
not have
Chemical
that tang.
Okay, but your kid
Honestly,
won't know
that
if your
is
kid
it.
if your kid only eats Annie's. Your kid will be fine with it. As I have kids. who
Part
only
of
eat
me, I think it's funny you said that, Tom, because I've thought about that. What is missing? I think it's the preservatives. I think am I missing red number 7?
Yes,
is that
you
what
are.
I'm missing?
Yes, you are.
Absolutely.
MSG
Kamau,
has gotten a bad rap. It's actually quite.
it is pretty good.
Yeah.
You notice it when it's not there for sure. Kamau, do you cook?
I mean, I have some go-to like they're not very complicated, but if I'm cooking, there's like 3 or 4 things. I think spaghetti and meatballs is the big one. Don't get
Oh,
impressed,
I can
but
do that.
that's the one that I'm like there's the Annie's mac and cheese. There's
Mhm.
spaghetti and meatballs. Then apparently I'm the best grilled cheese maker in the house, which I feel like
Ooh.
I have an area, which is funny because I didn't grow up with grilled cheese sandwiches, but apparently I know what I'm doing.
What kind of cheese are you using?
A good grilled cheese. Yeah. What kind of cheese?
Just a mild cheddar. My kid's like a mild cheddar.
Nice.
Nothing fancy. No.
Yeah.
A lot of butter. It's a lot of butter.
Oh,
I think
that's
the one
good.
thing I would recommend, Hurry, that get into very early on as a parent, handing your kids raw vegetables just at random times, just to get them into the habit of just like, it's time to eat it. Just eat this vegetable.
Smart.
I feel like that's
like a little
something that-
carrot stick.
Yeah, just like and you don't even bring it up. You just hand it. It's like you just hand it over. You don't say, "Would you like this?"
Uh-huh.
It's like-
Yeah, don't make that right there. That is the best advice.
Yeah.
Do not give them the options. Don't ask them what they would like tonight. What do you
Yes.
want? I
Yeah.
started it, and it's like I run a restaurant here. Everyone has their own order every
Yeah.
night.
What if
for
the
sure.
kid starts using the carrot stick as a crayon? Then what do I do?
Well, then you've learned something about your child. It's just about your child communing with a raw vegetable, and eventually it'll end up in their mouth. So I would just think, not yet, not enough teeth yet, but once you get to that like 2-year-old level where there's teeth, just start handing them raw vegetables.
Yeah.
My
Once
kids
the
will eat
tooth shows up.
fennel. My kids eat fennel. Like you can just hand them like raw fennel, and they're like, yum.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Good work. All right, I have one more big question because you guys are the ones that are going to answer. You've done great so far, straightening out my head with the other stuff. I was thinking to myself, why is this Affordable Care Act such a thing with the Republican Party? And it's like, why do they really care that much about that? I mean, other than, Trump's is just because Obama made it. So I get that. But this whole thing of like just wanting to tear it down, and you start looking deeper at that party and how it's so wrapped up in religion and things like that, but isn't at its heart just money? Isn't this about capitalism just gone batshit crazy? That's all that party really is. And they'll use religion or abortion and all these other things to kind of get them lathered up. But is it at the heart is just the capitalism is just driving all of it?
Yeah.
I nailed it.
I mean, if you nailed it, yeah, we don't need to answer that one. You got it. I mean, insurance is a huge money-making business with a huge markup. Pharmaceutical medicine is also a huge money-making business with a huge, unnecessarily huge markups. So anything that is about getting more people affordable health care is already going to be a problem. And then on top of that, when it came through the black guy, that is not good.
Yeah, I know. And they even tried to. Even Barack was like, "Call it the Affordable Care Act."
Yeah, nope.
And then no, we know
Nope,
his fingerprints are on it.
And luckily they only call it Obamacare because I'm sure they test marketed some other ways to call it. We shouldn't use the N word when talking about health insurance. But I think it's just about, it's the whole thing, money with a soups with a like a candy coating of Christianity. You know, because I think
right,
that the fact that Donald Trump is big with evangelicals means they don't even need it to be real. They just need it to be a shiny coating of Christianity.
I mean, with the ACA, I mean, I think a big part of it is it's not just specifically with the healthcare industry. I think it's an overarching belief that the market will correct everything, will fix everything. And if it doesn't matter because all of us are getting paid. So I think because healthcare should not be privatized the way it is. You know, there's certain things that should not be completely private. The idea of the post office being quasi-public. There's certain things that are for basic needs, but if you can say, well, you know, like education, the fact that they would prefer to privatize all of it, like this is part of the major problem with America is that the idea that anything is run by the government is socialist, and socialist automatically means bad, versus it's just a philosophy that you can apply, you know, fairly liberally. It doesn't need to be applied to everything. You could apply it to things that you value as a society.
Right.
Well, it's funny. Last night, my 9-year-old was like, I don't know where this came from, but there was some commercial that came on. Well, yeah, because, you know, in California, we have so many political commercials this time of year about like different propositions. And one of them mentioned taxes. And she's like, taxes are bad. I was like, what? I'm raising a libertarian? Like, where did this come from? And I was like, where did that come from? She's like, well, I heard, like, she just sort of heard that taxes are bad. I was like, no, you know how we have a road outside and we have like, you know, and not every kid can go to the fancy school you go to. And she sort of, and so my kid understood basic things that like the GOP leadership of this country don't understand. And I think for me, any country that doesn't consider education, healthcare, and basic living a human right is off.
Yeah.
Especially when it has access to great resources. So like, as we said during the pandemic, billionaires have made money during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
On both sides of the aisle, right-wing ones and left-wing ones. Yeah. And any country where that happens while people suffer is really a country that, as far as I'm concerned, is not really living up to the idea of being a society.
Right. No, exactly. And at a certain point, like when you have things like this, you would think actually in these moments that the people that seem to be voting against their self-interest would kind of expose it, but man, they're still in. They're still kind of in. It's powerful, that stuff.
Well, again, we all have access to our own quote unquote facts now. So they believe what they believe. And this is the thing that I think is the worst part about American democracy right now, is there's a thumb on the scale of hope because of things like the Electoral College and gerrymandering. So like, if it was just the popular vote, Joe Biden could stay in his basement and say, I'll see you guys in January. Because he's going to win the popular vote.
Which I still think he should do, by the way, because every time he talks, it's terrible.
Well, that's a whole But the fact is like Democrats right now are scrambling to make sure that they don't for like about 70,000 people scattered throughout certain swing states to make sure that those people are heard from, you know?
Yeah. Ohio.
Or those people vote a different way.
Right, exactly. I know. I literally went to vote yesterday, and I had my little envelope, and I went to the library, and I was putting in the thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is when you're supposed to take your sticker and do I voted and the thing," and this is content now.
Yeah,
and I was like, you know what? I'm living in California.
Yes.
I mean, you know, if I was in Ohio, I'd be like, come on, guys.
Yes.
But really,
you're just throwing in California, you're just throwing like a toothpick on the raging wildfire.
Oh my God. Well, I love talking to you both, really, and your podcast is so great. Politically Reactive. Everybody should listen to it because it's this, really. It's thoughtful, grown up, non-reactionary. I mean, it's called Politically Reactive, but it isn't reactionary, just spitting out sound bites and things you've heard before. It's funny and it's just really thoughtful. And I'll be a guest just to talk to you guys more. But in the meantime, I'll just listen.
Oh no, I'd love to have. I'd love to have you on because it'd be great to have. I mean, I really feel like comedians sometimes shy away from this kind of talk, but love to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah. You know, that thing is really. I feel like that part is kind of going like that whole stay in your lane, We don't come to you. It's like that's become hack.
Yeah.
You know, right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, so I shouldn't talk about something that's going to affect, like you said, like my kids going to school. I don't.
You know, I'm a human also.
Yeah, my act's not so great. That's
Funny.
the only thing you
Cops
want to
and
hear
comedians really think we're outside of regular society. I'm a comedian. I'm not.
I mean,
Comedian
people
lives matter.
people lost their mind when Jim Gaffigan decided to share what he actually believes. This isn't new. Jim talks like this all the time. He just happened to tweet it finally. I mean,
well, you know, that's kind of the funny thing. It's kind of like when Roseanne didn't come out for a long time. Like nobody, not Roseanne, Rosie O'Donnell. It was like she was the cutie patootie, and I love Tom Cruise, and everyone was like, she's gay, and they're like, until you say it out loud, people believe what they want to believe about you. And with Jim, it was like until he actually came out and said it, everyone kind of thinks it, but they're like, oh, now it's confirmed.
It's not just Hot Pockets he actually cares about.
Right. He actually cares about all these people he's talking to in
Hot
these
Pockets
arenas.
was a metaphor the whole time.
Right.
You guys are the best.
Thank
you so much. Now, normally, if at the end of one of these, if you guys were in LA, I would drive bread to your house and drop it off. I have 2 loaves that are actually baked, and you're just gonna have to
take
wait.
take those to somebody who needs some bread. There's got to be a.
All right. Yeah. I'll bring it to some open micer.
There you go. Take it to a comedian who's not making money now at all because all the open mics and clubs are closed.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys so much. Good seeing both of you.
Take care, Tom.
All right, we'll see you soon.